You'd be shocked at how many people forget that leather is literally the flesh of an animal, and it has some inherent properties that cannot be beat by modern material science despite all of our modern technology in 2024. So we're gonna take these $680 Whites boots, cut them in half and run them through our test to really figure out why I think these are the highest quality boots made in the United States, why we designed this leather to bleed, and why despite the best attempts of PETA and vegans everywhere, leather is going nowhere. But first, what is this boot? Well, it's a collaboration. So the brand is Rose Anvil X Whites. The style is the Drifter 3. It's the third year we're doing the Drifters, this time in the blood core leather, which is an exclusive leather I designed with Seidel. They weigh just under 3 pounds. They retail for $680. They're made in Spokane, USA. And the way we position this product is basically I wanted to make a Western inspired boot that was ridiculously durable, ridiculously versatile, while still being able to lace up on like a pull-on work boot. But more importantly, it's more of who Whites is. Whites was founded 171 years ago in 1853, where they were outfitting loggers back east, and eventually they made it out west during the green gold rush of the Pacific Northwest, and have been in the Pacific Northwest ever since. And all that weight of nearly 3 pounds comes from the ridiculous amount of leather they pack in this thing. There's literally over an inch of leather at your arch, giving you all that arch support that built up the Whites name at the arch ease last. And there's over 100 nails in each of these boots holding all those layers together. And there's one thing that White still does that nobody really else does, especially at scale, that's one of the oldest and hardest ways to make a boot that has some benefits you can only get from Whites that I'll show you when we get it cut in half. If you do want a pair of these, check them out, be links in my description. They're limited edition because it's a collaboration, so the first 250 orders arrive in 4 to 6 weeks after you order. If you missed out on the sale, we usually bring it back once a year. Might be able to convince Whites to bring back the blood core, but we also have a bunch of other blood core products coming out that are our products: coasters, kilties, wallets, and we've got some other blood core leathers in the work for some future collaborations. So make sure you're on that limited edition email list. And thank you guys for supporting these collaborations. So now, what is it about leather that I love so much, and why I don't think it'll ever go away, and why this leather bleeds, not breeds? Well, there's 3 main things that make leather nature's perfect material, especially for footwear. The first is leather's just ridiculously flexible and strong at the same time, where most modern materials have to be one or the other. And the reason for this is most synthetic materials are one homogeneous layer or density or hardness, which has its inherent flaws and weaknesses. To me, it's kind of like a knife. If the steel's way too hard, it becomes really brittle, even though it's sharp, but if it's too soft, it won't hold an edge. That's why traditional katanas were made using several different hardnesses of steel, and it's the exact same concept with leather, because if you look at the cross-section of leather, it's a gradient of microscopic fine fibers all the way up to those bigger suede fibers. Those larger suede fibers are more abrasion resistant and flexible and really strong, but they're really easy to unravel because they're so big. The finer grain fibers are not as strong, but they're structural and they bond all those bigger loose fibers together, and it creates a smooth, semi-impermeable layer. But more importantly, it's that gradient of large to small fibers that are all intertwined that gives it all its strength. And it's a huge part of why man can't make that material. It literally has to be grown. The second thing is, just like a saddle, leather, and this kind of boot specifically, just gets better with time. And that's because synthetic materials usually peak in strength, comfort, and aesthetic the first few times you wear them. And then it just immediately drops off a cliff, and it's just a downward slope in comfort and all those things from the moment you buy it. Leather, on the other hand, only gets better with time. The worst a leather product is ever gonna feel and look is the very first time you wear it. You have to really earn that additional benefit that's locked behind that break-in period. But once you've tamed that leather and it's conformed under your foot, wrapping around your foot, taking the shape of it, the comfort, durability plateaus for a really, really long time because of the higher quality materials that you had to break in. And then it slowly starts dropping off, and you get a resole, starts dropping off, condition your boots. And that's because leather doesn't degrade like synthetics. It collects all that dirt, oil, and wear and converts it into patina because the material can withstand it. It's like the weathering on an old ship. It's proof that it was strong enough to withstand anything you could throw at it, and its damage is worn almost like a trophy. And that's why in this kind of boot, there's literally like 2 pounds of leather per boot, because you can only get those benefits from the additional layers and specific leather that's chosen for different parts of leather, like the hard veg tan underneath your foot that builds up that arch and compresses the shape of your foot, giving you that deep footprint that makes them really, really comfortable. It's like sliding your hand in a well-worn glove. The blood core leather is a latigo base, which for decades and decades has been the leather of choice for saddles, for the straps that hold the saddle on a 1,000-pound horse. And it's so strong because it's absolutely packed with oils and conditioners to prevent it weakening over time. So that's why I wanted to do a latigo for the tannage of this leather. And that's the whole concept of this blood core leather, is instead of being mad about all the little scars and scratches, I wanted this leather to show all those battle-worn scars, to emphasize it and really show how these boots are unique to you and what you do and where you live and how you wear them, all represented on the outside of the leather. And that ties into the third thing, which is leather will literally outlive you if you take care of it. They found leather at the bottom of the ocean that could still be used. They found leather accessories on the Iceman. They even found some of the earliest shoes ever worn by humans that date back thousands and thousands thousands of years that have somehow survived through all the chaos and storm and environment. And that's because leather is a super unique material. It's almost like a zombie material. Just stay with me, hear me out, because it is an organic material that just doesn't rot over time, unlike cotton and a lot of other natural materials and even synthetic materials. And that's because it was a natural organic material in flesh that was converted into a non-rottable leather. And for that same reason, leather just smells a lot less than natural and synthetic materials, because to bacteria and microbes, leather really is kind of like a zombie, because it has all the properties of an organic and living material without the actual life and life process for it to consume by rotting. But leather has the same flaws as zombies, actually, because the flesh isn't alive anymore, and so it no longer has the self-healing properties, the self-conditioning properties of a living animal or living flesh. So now, with all that being said, let's cut these in half, because to really appreciate them, you do have to show what's on the inside. So now let's cut them in half after I've worn these for so long and they're perfectly broken in. All right, we got it cut in half, and if you're not subscribed, consider doing it. So let's see what's inside. So now you can really see all the handmade craftsmanship that goes into every single one of these boots. You can see all the clinch nails that get driven through, the big heel nails, all that veg tan leather. But it's this one welt right here, this hand-sewn stitch down construction that White's does that nobody really else does at scale. And it's this one little stitch right here that's almost a combination of a Goodyear welt and a stitch down construction, because you still have your stitch down stitch, but instead of that insole just being glued in or Blake stitched in, there's an additional stitch that is underneath this rolled welt that is a really heavy stitch density of really heavy thread that sews the upper down through the insole, so all that is locked together. And then this extra strip of leather is rolled over top and then sewn down again. So not only do you get like a double stitch down construction, but you also have that stitch going to the inside like a Goodyear welt. And that's why I think White's, hands down, makes the highest quality, most durable boots in the United States. So why is leather so undefeated, and why do I not think it's going anywhere despite PETA and all vegans everywhere hating it so much? Well, it's because it's nature's perfect material to wrap animals in. So when it comes to wrapping the human animal in a material that needs all those attributes and features, Mother Nature is just impossible to beat. And visually explain the entire concept of this project of products getting better with age in a world of so many products that we use every single day are specifically designed to fail. Because when it gets scratched and scarred, it bleeds and shows it. You have to care for it, you have to condition it. You have to really, really wear these and earn that right to show that bright red popping through, whether it's through really beating them up like this boot, a nice slow, well-worn patina like this one, or you can really care for them and keep it all black. And the only way you can get this material is from life itself. So I wanted the leather to be a reminder of that, and these heritage boots are no different. You might look at these boots and see just boots because it's really easy to forget the fact that all the stitching, leather, the nails, and all the craftsmanship that goes into each and every one of these boots that takes 25 unique stages by unique craftsmen to create these. So if you want a pair of the Drifter 3s, check them out below, and here's all your relevant information you need to know. Huge shout out to Weitz for being able to make this, because this hand-sewn stitch down construction is a huge pain to make, especially with leather that you have to be really careful around and not scratch and beat up. And a huge shout out to Seidel for being able to and willing to put up with this idea and finally get it to a point where it's fully realized, and it turned out so good. So shout out to Weitz and Seidel, and thank you guys for supporting these, and it's a huge part of how we can cut apart brand new stuff every single week. So thank you guys. See ya.